Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the channel. Uh, I want to say thank you, first of all, for everybody who's left kind words and support. That stuff really bigs me up and keeps me going. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to see people interacting with one another as well. Uh, this is an issue that I feel a lot of people are facing, but it also is very embarrassing and that can lead people to kind of keep to themselves and not say anything. And I think the more that we are vocal about this, the more that we share stories and situations, the more the more we'll be able to be free of it. That's one of the biggest things that's holding people down. I know for myself, I haven't really talked to too many people in my life about the struggle that I had to go through with pornography addiction. It's almost like it's more acceptable to yeah, well, I got addiction to cocaine or to gambling. That's like that would be almost more. It'd be easier to talk to somebody about that than to say I got addiction to pornography. Um, Not to say one's better than the other or worse than the other. That's just I feel like societal norms. That's where it's at. So thank you again. And I know it's been a while since I've put out a video. I've had to take care of some things in my own life, and now things are kind of settling down. The dust is setting, and it's time for me to get congruent again and to do what I feel like is a passion for me and a calling, and help people out, with these issues. And in the future, I want to branch out to not only speak about pornography, but speak about other non-substance based addictions, such as like social media. Video games would be a big one, and that's probably the first thing that I'm going to step into because that's another thing that I've gone through personally. Um, and then ultimately, talk about nutrition and tying all those things together, taking a real holistic approach in this healing, because that's ultimately what I feel is going to be the most effective ways to take a holistic approach. Again, you look at the spiritual, mental, physical aspects of it, and that's how you're going to get rid of this stuff. Now, I wanted to also talk about kind of my hiatus, so to say, or not necessarily between this video and the last video, but between my intent of making this channel and me actually making the channel, because there's a long time that I didn't do that. And that's because even though I had stopped using pornography and looking at pornography, the effects were still in my system. And I like to liken it to a sort of parasite. And I know it to be a mental slash spiritual parasite. And when you look at parasites on the physical level that live in your body, you can't just, it's ill advised to try and just kill them all at the same time. You're going to get sick. The reason you're going to get sick is because they're going to release all types of toxins when they die. You're going to have just their dead material inside of you. So they always say, you don't want to just wipe them all out. You're going to get sick. There's a term for that. I forgot what it's called. Uh, but it's the same idea with any sort of mental parasite that you might have. And I feel like pornography is a mental parasite because it ultimately starts with thought. So I went through the process of trying to cleanse myself of all that. And while these thoughts were leaving my body, my frame, I dealt with that residual stuff that was left behind that still needed to be cleaned out. So that manifested itself in a vacuum being created inside of my mind and inside of my body, where before it was filled with a habit that I've had for almost 2 decades, looking at porn. And it wasn't always to the extent that it was within the last few years. It really got worse in the last few years, the material. Uh, but it was always there, and it's tied to your sex drive, which makes it so much harder to deal with, because we're sexual beings. We're sexual beings living in an over sexualized society, and if you're a male, that's another aspect, because men aren't that's like one of the last things that men aren't directly in control of. They do control a lot of it as far as like women's fashion goes, and marketing and advertising. But when it comes down to it, you don't say that you're like, it's like the woman has to give the man sex, or the man has to take the sex from the woman. That's how we conceptualize it. I'm not saying that's the reality of the situation, because it's not, but that's how it's conceptualized. So that's another thing that we have to kind of like work against. So, 2 decades, okay. When I was able to get rid of that, I filled it up, one, with just playing fucking video games. Just getting lost in games. And that's another thing that I've done most of my life too, is play games. And it's something that that's like the next step, is to trim that back and curve that back. Not to say that games are inherently bad, where I feel like pornography is inherently bad. Games are just a waste of time. Not a waste of time, it's just, you could be doing more constructive things with your time. Playing games is like, it's a game. It's not really much different from playing with Legos, or kicking balls around and stuff. At least you do gain some physical activity out of that. But that's what I had filled that void that pornography has left, and then eventually I was able to kind of push that out and replace that with exercise. I got a little bench in the room, a pull-up bar, which I've had that I neglected, and just doing push-ups. And that's where I kind of am now, where if I feel that urge, if I feel that boredom or that restlessness, it's like, all right, let me just go and start lifting these weights, or doing some push-ups. And that's working for two ways. For one, I am satisfying an urge to engage in an activity, and two, it's not as fun as looking at porn or playing games. So that will kind of decrease the occurrence of that urge in the future. If you're constantly pairing it with something that is not stimulating, that's kind of a punishment, then you're going to decrease it down the line. So yeah, again, this was just a quick video that I wanted to make before I get into a more structured one. I just want to say thank you again to everybody who's looking at the channel, checking it out. And I've been going back and forth with this a lot, but it would be beneficial, to subscribe, hit the notifications, because just seeing the few people interact with each other, and like the few people that have hopped into the Discord, it's really nice. It's really refreshing to, again, see that you're not the only one who's going through this. And I don't think it's necessarily a fear anymore of, oh, but if you bring light to it, then more people might succumb to it. It's like, yeah, man, I guess, but what's the alternative? The channel right now is I think it's at like 69 subscribers, which, hey, I'm thankful for every one of them, but I would like that to grow, because that means more influence, more people are getting the word, more people are hearing this. And on the flip side, we looking at the pornography and stuff, man, like, this shit's getting more and more heinous. It's getting more and more widespread, more and more acceptable, and it's sad to see. Some people disagree when I say that porn is inherently a bad thing. The Western porn that we have, I would say, is, if you consider something like the Kama Sutra to be pornography, then we're just talking about different things. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like video streaming, not just video and streaming, but the stuff that's not natural. I was looking at a site, a comment on Reddit the other day. This woman was talking about how her husband was making her fat on purpose because he had some sort of fetish with fucking like morbidly obese women and playing with their stomachs. She didn't realize this until she stumbled upon his history. That's not natural, man. It's not healthy. Okay? And if you're sitting up and abusing yourself on a day-to-day basis, you wasting your energy, that's not healthy or natural either. So we got to be vigilant. We got to crack down. Now's the time. Find your value, reach your potential, and realize no one else is going to do this for you. You have to make the choice to better yourself. Okay? I'm going to have another video coming out today. That one's going to go into more detail about some things I've been wanting to talk about. But again, thank you to everybody who's been supporting and saying, spreading the love. I appreciate it. And let's help each other out. I'm going to leave a link to the Discord in here. And even though I was kind of like ragging on it earlier, like I said, I still enjoy playing games and stuff. So maybe that's a place where people can meet up, talk and stuff. Just check out the Discord. All right.